I have 1 year to uproot my life and move abroad. It is so overwhelming to have this huge goal without having it broken down into steps. So I've been thinking about this move for years, but more seriously in 2021, I started to really think about this and think, how can I actually bring this to life? How can I make this dream happen? And it's now 2025 and I'm still here. And you know why? It's because I hadn't made a step-by-step actionable plan. Sure, there are things that have come up like getting my citizenship and now just being in the waiting process for that. But technically I could be abroad right now. But the truth is, when you want to move abroad, you have to break it down into certain phases. And I got so stuck in phase 1. Like, I could not get myself out of it. But now that I've broken through that and I've moved on to other phases, the snowball is starting to roll and this is actually feeling like a reality. There are so many moving parts, so many different things to consider. By breaking it down into actionable steps, like an actual step-by-step plan to get myself from being stuck here to where I'm going to go next year, which is still a secret, by the way. This all feels so much more attainable. Why am I putting this 1 year deadline on it, or why aren't I going in 6 months? The reason is, first, I had to space it out because it is such an overwhelming process and there are a lot of moving parts, which we'll talk about later in this video. But I either would have to move in September of this year or September of next year. My lease ends, and so I'm just gonna renew my lease. So no matter what, I am not getting another lease next year. We're doing this. So let's start with phase 1, which is doing the research and choosing a destination. For me, this has been the phase I have gotten so stuck in over the past few years. When you are trying to figure out a visa, there are so many different things to consider. First of all, doing research on how you're going to make money abroad, right? Are you going to find a remote job that allows you to live abroad? Are you going to look for a job on the ground in the country that you choose? Are you going to do freelancing? Are you going to do your own business? Like, there's so many different things to consider when it comes to how you're going to make money. And once you have that, then you have to figure out what kind of visa you qualify for. Are you able to get a digital nomad visa? Are you able to get some sort of long stay visa? And how long are you allowed to stay in that country on a specific visa? It gets very complicated. I remember in 2022, I was so stuck in the research phase because at this point I didn't know I was eligible for citizenship to Germany. So I was like, what country could I possibly move to where I can take my, at the time, freelancing career, stay for longer than a year or two with my dog, and really make a life, and in a place where it's not so expensive. I got really stuck in the research phase. Every single time I found a country that I was like, oh, this could work, I would hit a roadblock and be like, oh, but I can only stay for a year. Certain things like that. So the research can take a long time, but it's important to not get stuck there like I did. Once I discovered that I was eligible for citizenship to Germany, then a whole slew of other problems happened, because now I'm not trying to find a country that I can get into and stay, but now I have a whole continent to choose from, and that makes the decision so much harder. It's like, okay, well, now I have all of these countries to choose from. What's the perfect one for me? And there's never going to be a perfect country, and I had to keep telling myself that. There were so many different things to consider for me when choosing a destination. For instance, I had to figure out a place that was pet friendly in terms of travel, so trains, Ubers, or car services had to make sure that they allow pets, especially large dogs. I need to make sure that I could find an apartment near grass. Like, there's so many things. I need to make sure that the city that I choose has a decent dating culture of people in their 30s, has enough going on that I won't feel like I am bored all the time, but maybe not so lively that I feel super overwhelmed. So I was really struggling to find the right place. So that's where I really think people can get stuck in this phase. It's like trying to find the perfect place, especially if you're trying to find that place right off the bat. A lot of times we're trying to consider the finances, like what is the cost of living in that country? What are the visa requirements? What is it like for kids? And is it, is there a lot going on for families? Is it pet friendly? Is it easy to get around without a car? So I, thank God, at this point, am 95% certain I have chosen my destination, and I'm not going to announce it just yet because I'm still not 100%, though I feel like this is definitely the right choice. And the thing is, The country that I chose, I'm not moving to it because of the country itself. I'm choosing this because there's something there that I'm going to do for a couple years. But doing that allows me mentally to be like, okay, if I don't like this, I'm not stuck there. I can go somewhere else. It's gonna give me an opportunity to meet people, make friends, and be in a really good financial spot, especially if I'm able to keep my current job and take that abroad. Like I said, I'm at the very, very tail end of this research phase, right? Like I'm 95% sure I have my plan. I'm just working on the backup plan in case I don't get that citizenship for whatever reason. Maybe it doesn't come in time or I get denied, which God, I hope not, but it's a possibility, you know? So what am I gonna do in that case? Because I'm still moving abroad. So that's pretty much where I'm at, just trying to find like options in case I don't have it in time. So now I'm moving into phase 2, which is set financial goals. For me, I have been working so hard at creating a really strong budget for myself. But for me, budgeting is definitely the most complex part because it's really woven throughout all of this process. And if we don't feel like we have a safety net when we make a big life decision like this or a big move, we can feel so terrified and so afraid that something might go wrong, or I don't know. I just feel like I need this safety blanket in order to be able to move, but I don't want this safety blanket to be so out of reach that I end up never reaching that and never moving abroad. So for me, my goal is to save around $8,000 for this move. And with that, it's not just by the time I move, I have $8,000 saved. I want to create this fund that I can tap into as the process is going. Like I'm going to need to get a train ticket to go to the consulate to do my citizenship, and I'm going to have to give my car company money because I'm returning my lease early, getting my dog crate for the airport, getting my flights. Like everything isn't all at once at the end. So I want to have this savings that's always kind of building. Also, I'm trying to remind myself that the upfront cost is a lot, but it's not as much as I think. I'm going to be making money as I'm doing the move. And also I'm really trying to remind myself that while this fund is a lot, it feels like a lot, it might not be easy to save it all up. I'm gonna have to be on a strict budget until then, but I'm trying to remind myself that where I'm moving, the cost of living is so low. Apartments are a third of what I pay for my apartment now. It's going to be so much easier to live and have a savings there. So I'm not trying to worry so much about paying off a ton of student loan debt or whatever. Until then, I'll just pay minimums. Everything will be fine. But I do want to pay down a little bit of a credit card that I have while also building this savings. In my head, like I'm gonna have the savings and God forbid something happens, I still have that credit card to save the day if, again, as an emergency situation. So what I did was I created a really detailed plan, all on paper. I don't really like to use spreadsheets. I took my monthly income and I was able to figure out what exactly I have after I have all my expenses, all my bills, all my subscriptions, all of my unnecessary spending on random things like a gym membership and groceries and fun money. Like after all of that, I do have a chunk that I don't realize that I actually have. And so every time I get paid from my job, I automatically have a number for each paycheck that I will put into a certain spot, whether it's my moving abroad savings or if it's my credit card, a little bit of fun money here, a little bit of this there. Like I have it all planned out until next fall. So I'll have a little bit of an emergency savings for here. I'll have a little bit of fun money if I want to go do something while I'm still here. I'm going to have my move abroad savings, and I'm going to also be paying off debt. So while this next year is going to be pretty intense in terms of what I'm not spending, I'm going to be trying to save money and sell things and try to get my fund as large as possible. It is really important to just have a plan, to be able to see your money every month and put it exactly where it needs to go so that you don't touch it. In fact, I actually have a separate card that's a SoFi debit card savings account as well that I'm putting all of this money into over there, so that it's not even in the bank account that I see on a daily basis. I don't even look at that one. So this will in my mind tell me, oh, I don't have money when I'm, at the end of the month, but actually I do, and it's my savings and I can't touch it because I don't remember that it's even there. Next, we're moving on to phase 3, documents and paperwork. How did that transition go? I'm trying to make these a little more engaging, you know? Phase 3 is really where we get into the logistics of the situation, right? The first 2 phases, there might even be a couple half phases thrown in there. They're all about like planning and getting everything together mentally and starting to prepare. But about phase 3, which would probably be 6 months prior to the actual move, is when you want to start working on the paperwork and the logistics. This isn't just, you know, getting your documents together and applying for a visa or getting citizenship or whatever it is. It's also like renewing your passport and renewing your license and things that you don't really think are necessary. But for me personally, my passport expires in 2 years and I'm thinking I definitely want to get that renewed before I move abroad. Then there comes more situations with my dog. So I have a whole half phase that's woven within this process as well that I'll talk about at the end with my dog. He has some health issues and I have to get him fixed first or stable before moving, obviously. But there are also USDA forms that I have to figure out. There are tight windows regarding that and getting him certain vaccines in a certain timely manner before moving. So that's all things I'll research then. That's like a 6 months from now problem. I don't want to have that stress in my brain just yet. But within phase 3 is when I'm going to be booking my flights and my dog's flight. So this is again a little bit stressful. This is where research is involved, like which planes can I even take him on, which airlines, which airport should I fly into. I had to choose a destination based off of where I can fly closely with my dog and like not have a transfer or having to drive 6 hours or take a train or things like that. Like I had to choose because my dog is that important to me that I'm not going to put him on a second flight. Then we have phase 4, which is sell and downsize. First of all, never in a million years did I think I would ever be willingly sitting in my guest room that is filled with boxes and things that I have to sell and things that I have to get rid of in order to downsize. So the audio probably is very echoey. But selling things and downsizing is definitely not just a weekend project. This is something that'll take a lot of time. And that's why this phase is also really woven throughout this whole process as well. But of course, the main chunk of it will be right before moving abroad. I have so many books that I'm so connected to. I lost my dad, right? So I have a lot of his belongings that I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with. Do I let them go? Do I put them in storage? Do I take them with me? Like I have to figure out how to let go of things, which is causing me already a lot of stress. So the fact that I may be moving in fall of this year in a couple months is really helping me come to terms with the fact that I can downsize in steps and not have to stress so much, because I think that can be a really big problem and a source of stress for a lot of people. For instance, I'm so sentimental. Like I find it so difficult to let go of things. That painting right there, I can't take that abroad, but I'm gonna have to save it. My grandmother painted that and it's like an heirloom in my family. I have to find a way to get it abroad eventually, but it can't come with me when I first go. So I have to figure out what to do with that. So I'm gonna start the downsizing process and selling things hopefully within the next couple months. I'll make some videos about that. And so that'll be phase 1 of the downsizing. But then next year is when things are going to get really intense for me. It'll be really hard to let go of my hoarding of books and things that were my dad's. Next, we have phase 5, which is pet prep. So like I was saying earlier, one phase that definitely does not fit into this overall moving abroad plan is dealing with my dog. He's definitely the most difficult part of this whole situation. If I didn't have him, I would definitely be abroad right now. Even if I didn't have my citizenship, I would be bopping around, living my life abroad. He has some gut health issues that he's had since he was a puppy. And I've been working with my vet for a long time trying to get to the bottom of it. And we have it narrowed down to 2 things. One, which is he's been treated for, but he still has some of the same issues. So we don't know if we have to tackle that more aggressively or if at the end of the day, it's irritable bowel disease. And so we're almost at the end. If it's this one thing that we've been treating, I have to get his poop tested again. I have to do a whole nother round of this treatment, which is expensive. But if that doesn't work and it is irritable bowel disease, then we just get him a monthly prescription and hopefully he'll be better. With him, I have to get his gut fixed before I move because he has this magical ability of having a flare up the day before I travel anywhere. So I just know that the day before we're set to go, he's gonna have a horrible flare up. He's not gonna be able to get his fit to fly papers done or whatever you have to do. He's not gonna be able to get on that plane. I wouldn't be able to get on that plane then. And then it'll just be a whole disaster. I'd have to redo the USDA paper. I'd have to get another flight for both of us. And then I'd have to rebook an Airbnb. Like there's just so much hanging on the fact that he has this gut issue that I have to fix. So that's really my number one priority right now. Aside from moving to my next location and budgeting, I have to get his stomach fixed ASAP. His health is truly my number one priority when it comes to moving abroad. I have to have that done before anything else, or else I'm gonna be here for another couple years, guys. We have to figure out what's going on with Zoe's stomach. And then we have aspects of the pet prep that are more in its own phase towards the end of the situation. Like I have to get him an airline approved carrier. I have to train him to enjoy that. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. But I have to get that. And of course, budgeting for his travel costs, which is also within the financial phase of this. So there are a lot of moving parts, but breaking it down into sections is really helpful for me, at least in my mind. Like, okay, we have the paperwork, we have the research, we have the downsizing, we have the pet prep, and then we have phase 6, which is making the move. It all leads up to this, right? There's really not much to do in this phase except make sure everything is organized, make sure that I'm really nailing down Snowy's timeline with his USDA papers. I'm not 1,000% sure the process right now, so I don't want to give false information, but I know you have to get a checkup at the vet and they have to do this USDA paperwork and then mail it off to the USDA to get like something, and then they mail it back to you, and it has to be done within 10 days of getting on your plane. So that I can imagine is stressful, and that's gonna be a part of phase 6, which is making the move. This is really the execution phase. This is getting to the airport with my dog and hopefully someone else, maybe my mom, and bringing all my stuff and then getting to the location. And I'm thinking I'm going to rent a car from the airport so that we have all of our stuff and I can just drive Snowy to this next place, to our Airbnb, and figure out how to either get the car back and fly over again or deliver the car somewhere else. I'm not sure, but that's a problem for later on down the line. This is more of the logistics of making the actual move. And there he is with this little scarf. But hopefully we'll have set up everything just right and perfectly with all of our planning ahead of time so that when we actually have to make the move and it comes down to moving day, things will go smoothly. And of course, I am very open to my plans changing. You have to be flexible with things like this. Like if my citizenship for whatever reason wasn't approved, or if it was delayed a lot longer, I have to be able to have a backup plan. What's the next thing I can do? Can I get a visa for the country that I'm going to? Or, you know, we'll figure it out because I'll be vlogging every step of the way. I'm also tracking all of this inside of a Notion dashboard. I also am tracking some financial things in there, and I do have a spreadsheet for my budget, but like I said, I do have my budget just on a piece of paper. In a couple weeks, I'll be uploading a video all about my moving abroad system that I created for myself, all of the different spreadsheets, the budgeting, the packing lists, the selling lists, all of the things, the trackers in my Notion that I've created because I love to be organized, and that's really how I stay on top of everything. Without being organized and having a system for myself, I'm just doomed to fail. So I want to share that with you. I think it'll be really helpful. This video was really about my strategy and my timeline and how I think I'm going to make that happen. And in the other video, it'll be way more in detail about the systems that go into that, if you're that type of person, because God knows I am. So if you're planning on moving abroad, let me know in the comments which country you're thinking about going to or are going to, and what your phases are, what your strategy is going to be in order to get there, or if you're gonna follow me and follow in my footsteps. Don't forget to subscribe to follow along on the journey, and I will see you guys next week with another video. Bye.